Howdy folks, Grizz here. I've had a few questions about the gun cart I just built, so I'm going to show you a little bit more about it. Let's get started right about now. Okay, here's the gun cart. As you can see, it has room for a shotgun and a rifle on each side. It has a box on top, hold an ammo box, 38 special, and a box of shotgun shells, 2 boxes of shotgun shells, whatever. Down in the bottom, this dowel here is what holds the upright to the bottom box with it shoved all the way in. And you kind of have to wiggle the upright, which I can't do one-handed, to get it to go all the way in. But anyway, so with it all the way out, it goes into this little filler block or keeper block there. And then that upright just lifts all the way out. Now that upright, you can see there's a keeper block in the back that dowel goes into. Underneath that little beauty piece there is a couple of more blocks that have holes drilled in them for that dowel. I just put that piece on top to make it look a little bit prettier. The main upright, you can see, is notched there to go down over so that that back piece lines up. It's also notched on top for that box to fit in. The barrel rest goes into a dado in the back piece, and yeah, that's kind of it for there. On the bottom of the cart, I have a couple of pieces of cherry. Shame to waste good hardwood on this, but man, that's beautiful wood. But I wanted something solid to attach the legs and the axle to. The little filler blocks here to build the legs out to as tall as they need to be. Just Home Depot there on the hangers. On the axle and wheels, I think I got at Lowe's. Those are just little pipe hanger clamps. They weren't tight on the axles, so I filled the gap with some pieces of cut up inner tube and just screwed it down. Hopefully that'll hold, but we shall see. Okay, let's move along and get to the actual pieces part. We have all of the pieces parts to make one cart. 2x6, which is the main upright. You'll have to figure out your dimensions on that. This is the interior divider. It is shorter than the exterior dividers because it sits up on top of the floor, which is inset into a groove there. The sides go into a groove, or the interior divider goes into a groove on either side, like such. The joinery is pretty simple. I just lap that over, put some glue in, and then a few brads until the glue dried, because I watched too many episodes of New Yankee Workshop, and you know how Norm loves his brad nails. So anyway, the detail in here is you have your divider block, or your filler block, that ideally is the same height as that. But you'll have one here that's the same thickness as the cutout on your 2x6, and a hole drilled in there, hole drilled in that 2x6, and a couple of more holes in the filler blocks here. I used 2 because that's just what I had. And then there will also be a hole drilled in here. Now, one thing to note is you'll notice that for that dowel to reach that far and have enough sticking out, if you already had this end on here, there's no way you could ever get that in and get your 2x6 out. So what I did is I assembled, I put the bottom in and assembled both sides, the middle and the back. I put that 2x6 in there. I got all the holes lined up, slid that dowel in place to make sure everything lined up. Then I attached the filler blocks with the dowel in place, so I knew everything lined up. And only then, with that dowel in place, did I go ahead and put on the front of the box here. And that way, and then line up that little keeper block that goes here, so that that dowel is captured in there The only way that's ever coming out is if it breaks. And then you'll have to drill a hole through the front of the box to get a new one in. But that's doable. The floor is just basic plywood like this, cut to the right size to fit in those grooves. The barrel rest, as I said, I just used a Forstner bit to drill holes for each corner of the shotgun in the middle of the rifle, and then I straightened up the edges, did a little sanding to make that pretty. I sized it so that that top box would fit between, right at the edge of the rifle barrels, and as I said, that goes into a groove on the back piece here, and then which isn't cut on this set of parts yet, and then just drilled some Forstner holes, and I left some of the little nubs in between for finger holes. Yeah, it works. But anyway, that's basically how this goes together. I mean, just, you know, the lap joints at the corners, same basic thing on the box, on the little box. One thing to note on the little box, I put in a second piece of plywood underneath the floor just to make it sit flush on the cutout in that main upright, because it sits kind of down like that. So I cut out here so that box sits right there. Can't really tell by my hands, but anyway. So yeah, that's basically, you know, how it goes. The upright is notched. We'll have this 2x4 fit in here. Is notched so that that fits over there. For the main upright to the back connection, I was going to dado it in there, but using only 1/2-inch plywood, I didn't want to leave too little on the back, so I just used a butt joint and glue and screws. Doesn't look quite as elegant from the back, but it should be functional, which was my main point for this cart. Again, all the parts for one cart basically are sitting right here. This is just standing in for the 2x6 upright because it isn't cut to size yet. We have the back, the barrel rest. One side, interior dividers, the crosswise interior divider, the back. Over here is the front, the other side, and back down there is the shield, which I just clipped the corners to make it look good. Put one coat of spar urethane on, sanded it smooth, hand painted the alias, second coat of spar urethane. Here's all the pieces for the little box for the top. Again, plywood bottom, and just pieces that fit together basically like this. So there you go. I hope that answers the question. The most expensive thing on this cart probably is the wheels. They're $15-20 a piece. You know, all of these parts came out of half a sheet of plywood. I got 2 carts out of 1 sheet of plywood. The 2x6 is just something I picked up at Home Depot. It's nothing special. Can use a little sanding, but for what it is, it'll do. The cart is finished with 2 coats of spar urethane with light sanding in between. Probably should get 3 coats, maybe a couple of coats of wax, but I got lazy, so there you go. Anyway, I hope that helps you out. And if you have any more questions, let me know. Hope to see you down the trail. Until then, watch your top knot.